The Steve situation's hard, man. I mean, we were heartbroken to find out some of the things he said, but at the same time, the man was fighting hard for those teams. It seemed like
Yeah, he was.
he was trying to get the teams what they wanted. And unfortunately for him, he was caught in a rock in a hard place, and he was a snake that was willing to, slither through the rocks and not have to worry about it, no matter what side he landed on. And that's where it kind of got nasty for him. And unfortunately for him, I mean, somebody had to pay for this. Somebody had to be at fault for everything that went down. And he was a really prime figure for his unfortunate choice of words. So it sucks. I don't think NASCAR's really necessarily better because he's gone, but I don't think we're gonna struggle because he's leaving. At the end of the day, I think he'll end up fine, like you said, but I don't think he should be a commissioner. I think he's too two-sided to be all that.
Yeah, I agree.
Perfectly
And
said. I agree.
if you ask me who should be our next commissioner, should be the man that actually cares the most, and that's Mark Martin. 100%. I think Mark Martin should be in charge. I think he's got the most sane understanding of everything of NASCAR, of racing, and I don't think he'll do it with emotion. I think he'll do it with fairness. Man never won a championship, and that's never bothered him. He's Mr. Consistent for a reason.
I love it.
That
That was great. I love that one.
it was perfect. That's who I thought you were gonna say. That's why I didn't say my guy. That's who I was gonna say. It was Mark Martin. I think Mark the Kid Martin would be the perfect commissioner. He has his finger on the pulse of the sport, and he keeps up with the times. He might look like an old man, but he keeps up with the times, and he keeps up with what younger people like. So I think he would be
Van's
perfect.
got an RV with 750 horsepower in it. Like, homeboy is not slowed down.
No, not at all. Not at all. I think he'd. I don't know if you'd even want to do it though. That's my thing. I don't know if you'd want to do it. If he's able to stay in Arkansas a lot of the time, I think he'd be down to do it. But I don't think that's realistic. I think the realistic thing is him moving to North Carolina, back to Charlotte, and I think that's something he's not interested in doing. Is just moving back to Charlotte. So they would have to really try to convince him. They would have to really throw. They would have to back up money trucks to his Arkansas home to get him to do it. I think I look at him kind of like, if any of you pay attention to, either you pay attention to college football even a little bit, with like Nick Saban. Like Nick Saban's like the greatest coach in college football history, and he gets paid so much money to do college game day, and he's also just relaxing. He doesn't have to do too much. So he's okay with that. He flies out once a week and boom, he's on college game day. And maybe if they can work something out like that for Mark Martin, but being commissioner is way more than just flying out for one day. So he's my pick. Okay, so I'm gonna have two different picks kind of right here. My pick, who I would want to be the commissioner, is Mark Martin, but the realistic choice is Ben Kennedy. I think that's the realistic choice. Would you agree with that, Tyler, or no?
100%. That's the realistic choice. In reality, it's time for Ben to step up and let's see if he can do it. I mean, he's the next heir to it all, so let's see. Let's find out what we're gonna be dealing with. Now's the time. Now or never. Let's just do it.
Yeah, rip the band-aid off, because I'd say he's the last heir to the France family at this point. I think there's obviously people that are younger than him in the France family, but like I said, I have not personally been too fond of the last two people we've had in charge from the France family, Jim France and then Brian. That was Brian France is DWI France, right? That's Brian. I'm not a fan of either of those guys at all. Uh, I definitely like some things that because Jim is a racer. Jim knows what's up, but at the same time, I don't think he's done a great job. Uh, Big Bill France, he was the best. He was the best. So Ben Kennedy being the commissioner, I think would be a good move. I would, like I said, I think me and Tyler are both in agreement. We would want Mark Martin over Ben Kennedy to be the commissioner, but I just don't see Mark Martin wanting the job. If they offer him, he's gonna say, "Fuck no, I don't want that job. I want to hang out in Arkansas and listen to Gucci." Like he doesn't want to move back to Charlotte. I just don't see it. I don't see it. Corey, what are your thoughts on all that?
I mean, no, I agree with exactly what you guys said. I think Mark Martin would be the dream choice. And then you could start naming some other drivers that you can see that still love the sport. But Mark Martin's the clear choice, especially with what he did getting the chase back. And then I think Ben Kennedy is probably the more realistic, like you said. Like, obviously, it's not a name that's going to pop out and everyone's going to be, oh my God, yeah. But I mean, he's there. And I think, like you said, it's just the most realistic option.
Yeah, I think it would be by far the most realistic option to put Ben Kennedy in that position. I wouldn't be opposed to it. I personally can't think of anybody else that would be worthy of that position. Of course, you could name Mike Helton, but I don't think Mike would want to do it either. So I think those would be the three people that I would really want to do it. Would be either Mike Helton, pretty much getting back into his same position, very similar position, I would say. Obviously, there wasn't a commissioner back then, but in a very similar position that he was back in the day. He was pretty much the commissioner without being the commissioner back then. Mark Martin or Ben Kennedy. I think those would be the three premier options. But two of those guys, I don't see doing it. So that would leave Ben Kennedy. And I can't think of anybody else that's a realistic option. Maybe Steve O'Donnell. Maybe you give him a promotion, but I don't think he's worthy of a promotion. Nothing against Steve O'Donnell. I don't think he's worthy of that promotion personally. That's me personally. I don't see what he does behind the scenes. Maybe he does a lot more than we think he does. So maybe Steve O'Donnell, I guess, but I can't really see anybody. But let me know your thoughts in the comments, in the replies. Who do you think should be the new commissioner of NASCAR?